Let's go to Cleveland, where the Cleveland Browns started Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and they started him because P.J. Walker is an interception machine. He is a YOLO ball that has yet to meet a turnover-worthy play he does not love. So you get DTR out there, had a horrible outing against the Ravens earlier this season. But Kevin Stefanski's like, you know what? You're playing the Steelers. That team does not trust Kenny Pickett to do anything other than to hand the ball off, and he couldn't even do that competently. And this was basically the Spider-Man meme breach. Two great defenses with two horrible offenses that just were basically playing in the middle of the football field until the final drive where DTR was allowed to throw the ball down the field, got in a field goal position. Your guy, Dustin Hopkins, for the second week in a row, got a game-winning field goal. And as we sit here, the Cleveland Browns are 7-3, the same record as the Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars, as you might say, a breach. Where are you on this Cleveland Browns team that appears to be clutch?
The Browns have one of the best defenses, not just in the AFC, but in the past years. I mean, their defense is so good. It doesn't matter who their quarterback is. And when I say that, this team has had 3 different starting quarterbacks win a game for them this year. That is just nutso. I mean, obviously we had DTR today. We had Deshaun Watson, PJ Walker. So when your defense is so good that it doesn't matter who you put at starting quarterback, that really says a lot. I don't know how good I would feel going into the playoffs with a quarterback who lacks experience. But your defense can certainly carry you through the regular season, and the Browns have that. The one thing I will say, though, Wilson, is that how did you feel seeing Dorian Thompson-Robinson outplay your boy Kenny Pickett?
I felt like I knew this was coming, and I'll continue to beat this drum. And this is how bad things have gotten. This is not Matt Canada's fault. This is a Kenny Pickett problem. They do not trust Kenny Pickett. If you watch Kenny Pickett last week in last week's game, they trust him to throw the ball in the flat. They trust him to throw back shoulders to George Pickens, which Breach and Brinson could do if you were playing in an offense that you just showed up in. They do not trust him. Now, the problem is going to be that they're going to be stubborn and continue to play him for 2 more years, and you just have to live with it. But Matt Canada, he should be doing the who is the former Browns and Bengals offensive coordinator that just and coach the Raiders. What's his name?
Hugh Jackson?
Yeah, you should go to the Hugh Jackson tour where you just blame everybody but yourself when you get fired, because Matt Canada has a case to be made for, look, man, Kenny Pickett is not an NFL quarterback. And that's the reality. But to breach the point,
by the way, Canada is actually a notorious Hugh Jackson back channel, get the word out about how it's not being his fault type of guy.
Well, in this case, he's justified in saying so. But Brett, I'll ask you. I think Breach sort of touched on it, and BMAC likes to call certain teams on their way to the playoffs in the way teams. The Browns feel like an in the way team, but because Deshaun Watson has not worked out. But I think this is still a feel good story for Kevin Stefanski, and it might even obscure some Browns fans from the whole point about paying $250 million for a quarterback who doesn't play.
Pretty wild graphic up here, by the way. Browns' best 10-game starts since they came back to the NFL, back to Cleveland in 1999. 5 times they've gone 6-4 or better. 7-3 this year, of course. 7-3 in 2020, and they lost in the divisional round. That was the year they beat your Pittsburgh Steelers and the bloated corpse of Ben Roethlisberger with Baker Mayfield. 6-4 in 2014. They missed the playoffs. 6-4. That was the year. That was when Alex Mack broke his leg. Brian Hoyer and that team was dominating. Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. Fun fact: Kevin O'Connell, current Vikings coach, was on that staff in 2014, and now Mike Pettin, that head coach, is a assistant head coach on the Vikings who played on Sunday night. 2007 was Brady Quinn. Brady Quinn was on that team. Derek Anderson started, I believe. They missed the playoffs, started 6-4. 2001, 6-4, and missed the playoffs. So I don't know that I would pencil the Browns in to definitely make the playoffs. I mean, this the AFC is so.
Yeah, who's
yeah, you're crazy.
Who's going to overtake?
As the person who I think is viewed as the most anti-Cleveland person on the podcast, the Browns are 100% making the playoffs.
It's like 89% according to the upshot. So
according to Breach odds, it's 100% upshots wrong. Why don't you cite wins over Wilson or brains over Brinson or Breach bot? One of the 3.
I just think the issue is that you have a couple of teams back there. I know Buffalo's not good. We don't like the Bills.
Okay, even Buffalo. Because the Steelers are dropping out. Who's the other team that's going to take the Brown spot?
Well, Denver.
The Browns are going to win 12 games. Look at their schedule, Brinson.
The Browns do have
More like Bowles over
man,
Brinson.
they're at Denver this week. That is a
Win.
big game.
The
Yeah,
Broncos
you
are
get
going to
that
score
one
3
through.
points.
The Browns are at Denver, at the Rams,
Win.
versus the Jaguars. That's not easy. So
Win. That's a Florida team in Cleveland in December. That's a guaranteed win.
Far. Versus Trevor Lawrence has still never seen snow. Versus the Bears,
Win.
at the Texans, versus the
Look at the
Jets,
loss.
and at the
Win.
Bengals.
Beating the Bengals. So that's 6-1. There you go. 13 wins.
I think they go 1-2 over the next 3, and then
Awesome.
close by going 2-2. So let's say that happens, and that means that's 3-4. 10-7 is 100% in.
I think they're winning more than 10 games is Breach's point.
That's my take on it.
But I think 10-7 gets them in, even if
Okay.
you do think they go
The
10-7.
Steelers aren't winning 10 games. The Colts, the Broncos, are they each winning 5 more games this season?
If the Browns beat the Broncos next week in Denver, then they are 100% getting in.
All right.
One more win.
Brinson has jinxed another team, so 2
I
down.
think the thing that sucks is that like we're like it's the Lions are this feel good story, and you feel like there really is like an incredible ceiling for them, and then you go to Cleveland and it's like, man, this defense is so good, and their running game still functions, but they lost to Sean Watson, Nick Chubb, and their starting left tackle and starting right tackle. And there's I mean, like, Jedrick Jedrick Wills. Yeah.
Mhm.
This team could be. We could have a Lions-Browns Super Bowl, which would in
Well,
Vegas.
to Breach's point, they're still going to win 12 games. I mean, they're not out of it. They're competing.
Fair.
And the biggest issue isn't the injuries to those other players. Nick Chubb actually is pretty big, but the quarterback play has been subpar, and not PJ Walker and or DTR. The Deshaun, who has not played well, and maybe last week was a glimpse, but then he got hurt and he's done for the year. So,
but let's not forget, you know what the Browns did? They made the biggest move in the NFL on Sunday. They signed January Joe to their practice squad. He's going to carry the team when they get to January. That is Joe Flacco. For those of you who don't know,
just for what it's
hasn't been
worth.
used in 10 years.
At Broncos, at Rams, Jaguars. I don't think those are like. I think they could go 0-3. I think they could go 3-0, 1-2, 2-1. Any of those things are possible with the way that this Browns team plays. If they were to lose all 3 games, the playoff percentages would drop to 53%, according to the Upshot. Whereas with a win over the Broncos this week, it would be 96% playoff percentage.
those are called breach odds. All right. Way to go, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. You put a fork in them. They are done. It's only a matter of time now. The only thing left to figure out, even though the Steelers are still in the playoff hunt, technically, the only thing to figure out is when George Pickens goes crazy and throws Kenny Pickett through a Gatorade cooler, because it's coming, and he is not happy. Deontay Johnson isn't happy body language wise. Maybe they'll say the right things, but it's hard to watch. It is some truly terrible football. But as someone told me earlier today,
Harris complaining after the game.
who? What did he
Harris.
say? What did Najee say?
He was cussing. He's
Yeah,
tired of this SH. He's tired of this poop.
Well,
This poo-poo?
maybe he's referring to tired of being benched for Jalen Warren, who's clearly a better running back.